Trey, who in your experience is the best seller that you've come across that's carrying a bag themselves?
Yeah, Scott, you told me this question was coming, so I put a little thought into it. And ironically, there's 3 reps when I first got to Bazaarvoice, and each one gave me a little nugget that I've held really close to my heart. There was a guy named Tony Capasso. And
love Tony.
all 3 of these folks have become sales leaders in other organizations now, which is kind of ironic. But I look back, and these are people that they were part of the 300% club. They had quotas where they were over 300% of their numbers. And Tony had gone on a call with me, and afterwards he said, Trey, you know selling well. You know the value. You know how to take cues and conversations well. He said, I'm going to challenge you to be a better listener. He said, I'm going to challenge you to take your moleskin, to take your notebook and set it beside you in a meeting. And over a 30-minute meeting, the second you're ready to tell the client something, bite your tongue. And I want you to do it 6 times during a 30-minute meeting. And I want you to target 11 times in an hour meeting. Now, this conversation was 6 years ago, but to this day, I try to do that because you'll be surprised if you just bite your tongue, how much more the client has to give you, how much more they have to say. And even in a negotiation, how silence will push them to say something and kind of meet you in the middle. So Tony really brought me that nugget, and I've kind of held on to it. There was a woman named Snowflake Rosen. Again, very successful rep. But what I saw in her is she built teams around her, and those teams rallied. She was a project manager before she ever got into sales and earned the nickname Closing Rosen because she closed so much big business. And I watched as entire teams felt the success when she closed a big deal, and she recognized all of them versus really kind of praising herself. What the power that showed me is I'll go on the road and I'll have a solutions consultant. I have a team member named Allison Schreider, and I've watched sometimes as clients don't want to talk to the salesperson. They want to talk to the technology person, the implementation person, because these are the people that are going to help them solve their issues. So building that team has been huge. And lastly, Cheryl Donahue was a brief manager of mine, but I saw her when she was a rep, and I got a lot of the inspiration surrounding the long-term planning from her. She didn't look at what she could close this month or this quarter. Everything she talked about was what she could do over the next year or 2. You hear the cliche about it's all about time and territory. Well, you got to make sure you've invested in that territory for a long time for it to bear fruit. Cheryl taught me a lot about that long-term planning, about seeing what a client could be and investing in developing that client so that they could be big deals. All 3 of them have been wildly successful, but those kind of 3 nuggets from those 3 people really have inspired me, and I see some real some things I've developed in my strategy and my approach based on some of those guidelines.